What if I told you that creativity isn't a gift, but a skill you can learn? Join me as we explore a captivating tale that uncovers the secrets to unlocking your creative genius. Let me tell you a story about two people, Alex and Mia, who both wanted to become creative thinkers. They each had their own unique journeys, but through their experiences, we can understand what it takes to develop creativity. Alex was sitting at his desk, feeling frustrated. He worked in marketing, and his boss had asked him to come up with a campaign that would stand out from the rest. But he had been staring at his computer screen for hours with no ideas. No matter how hard he tried to think, he couldn't come up with anything new. He felt stuck. At the same time, Mia was at home, sitting at her desk trying to write a novel. She had dreamed of being an author for as long as she could remember. But every time she started to write, she felt like her ideas were boring. She compared herself to famous writers, and that made her doubt her own creativity. She thought, how can I be creative when everything has already been written? Both of them wanted to be creative thinkers, but neither knew where to begin. One evening, Alex's friend visited him and gave him some advice. Creativity doesn't happen when you're stressed, his friend said. You need to step away from your desk and clear your mind. Alex wasn't sure this would work, but he decided to try it. He went outside, took a walk around the neighborhood, and let his thoughts drift. He didn't focus on work. Instead, he observed the trees, listened to the birds, and noticed the people passing by. And then, unexpectedly, an idea came to him. A fresh and simple concept for the marketing campaign popped into his mind. He quickly wrote it down on his phone, excited to try it at work the next day. When he presented the idea to his boss was impressed. Alex couldn't believe that stepping away from his work had sparked his creativity. Meanwhile, Mia was still struggling with her novel. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't seem to get her ideas down on paper the way she wanted. One day, she decided to do something different. Instead of staying inside her house, she went to a nearby cafe with her notebook. As she sipped her coffee, she listened to the conversations happening around her. Two people at the next table were talking about their day. Another group was discussing their favorite books. Suddenly, Mia had an idea. She could use the real-life conversation she overheard to inspire the dialogue between the characters in her novel. That day, she filled several pages in her notebook, and it felt more natural than anything she had written before. She realized that by simply paying attention to the world around her, she could find inspiration everywhere. After his success at work, Alex continued to explore different ways of thinking creatively. He started trying new techniques, using tools he wasn't familiar with, and working with colleagues from other departments. He found that collaborating with others from different backgrounds helped him come up with ideas he never would have thought of on his own. For one campaign, he partnered with an artist who added a unique visual style to the project. The campaign was a hit, and it showed him the power of stepping outside of his comfort zone. As Mia's novel began to take shape, she decided to expand her sources of inspiration. Instead of only reading novels, she started reading different types of books, nonfiction, poetry, biographies, and even magazines she wouldn't normally pick up. She discovered that the more she exposed herself to new ideas and perspectives, the more creative her own writing became. She wasn't copying anyone else's work. Instead, she was feeding her mind with fresh ideas that sparked her imagination. But the journey wasn't always smooth for either of them. As time went on, Alex found himself struggling with creative blocks again. There were days when his ideas didn't work, and he felt like he was failing. He began to question his ability to think creatively. But then a colleague reminded him, not every idea has to be perfect. The important thing is to keep trying, even if you fail. This advice helped Alex. He started taking more risks with his ideas, knowing that some would work and some wouldn't. The key was not being afraid to fail. In fact, some of his biggest successes came from ideas that had originally seemed like failures. Mia faced her own doubts as well. Some days, she would write pages of her novel only to feel unsatisfied with her work. She would delete entire chapters, thinking they weren't good enough. But she kept writing even on the days when it felt hard. Slowly, her novel began to take shape, and before long, she had written the ending. It wasn't perfect, but it was finished. And she realized that sometimes creativity wasn't about having the perfect idea from the start. It was about showing up every day, working through the challenges, and allowing the ideas to develop over time. From the story of Alex and Mia, we can learn a lot about how to be a creative thinker. Creativity isn't something that just a few people are born with. It's a skill that anyone can develop by practicing certain habits and approaches. Let's break down the important lessons we can take from their experiences and apply them to our own lives. 1. Creativity comes when you relax your mind. One of the first things we see in Alex's story is how stuck he felt when he tried to force creativity. He spent hours staring at his computer, trying to come up with ideas, but nothing came. It wasn't until he stepped away from his desk, took a walk, and let his mind wander that a fresh idea appeared. This tells us that creativity often comes when you're not forcing it. Our brains work better when they have time to relax and wander. Sometimes, when you're struggling with a problem or need a new idea, the best thing you can do is stop thinking about it for a while. You could take a walk, listen to music, or do something unrelated to your work. When you give your mind a break, you allow your subconscious to process ideas in the background. That's often when creative solutions pop up unexpectedly. 2. Find inspiration in everyday life. Mia's breakthrough came when she changed her environment. Instead of sitting at her desk, she went to a cafe where she observed the world around her. By listening to real conversations and paying attention to her surroundings, she found inspiration for the characters in her novel. The lesson here is that creativity isn't always about having a wild imagination. Sometimes, it's about paying attention to the details around you. Creative thinkers know how to find ideas in the most ordinary things, whether it's people talking, the colors of nature, or something you read in a magazine. The key is to stay curious and observant. If you look around you with an open mind, you'll notice things that can spark new ideas. Try to make it a habit to look at your surroundings from a different perspective. Ask yourself, what's interesting here? How could this be part of a new idea or story? The more you practice this, the better you'll become at seeing the world as a source of creative inspiration. 3. Experiment and step out of your comfort zone. Alex also learned that creativity grows when you experiment with new ideas. After his initial success, he didn't stick to the same methods. Instead, he started collaborating with people from other fields and trying new techniques. This led to even better results, as he was able to bring fresh perspectives into his work. What we can learn from this is that being creative often means stepping out of your comfort zone. If you always stick to what you know, your ideas will stay the same. But if you try something new, whether it's learning a new skill, working with different people, or using a new tool, you'll open up new pathways in your brain. New experiences stimulate your creativity by giving you more material to work with. Don't be afraid to take risks. You might feel uncomfortable at first, but that's part of the creative process. The more you experiment, the more you'll discover new ways of thinking and problem solving. 4. Feed your mind with variety. Another important lesson comes from Mia's approach to reading. She didn't just stick to novels. She started reading different types of books, from nonfiction to poetry and biographies. This variety of content gave her fresh ideas and helped her think more creatively when writing her novel. The takeaway here is that creativity thrives on variety. If you only expose yourself to one type of information or experience, your ideas will become limited. But if you explore different areas, reading, watching, or listening to things outside of your usual interests, you'll find connections between them that can spark new ideas. For example, if you're a designer, you could read books on architecture, nature, or even psychology. If you're a writer, you could watch documentaries on history or science. These new areas of knowledge will broaden your thinking and give you unexpected inspiration. 5. Embrace failure and learn from it. Alex also discovered something critical about creativity. It involves failure. Not every idea he had was successful, and there were moments when he doubted himself. But he learned that failure is a normal part of the process, and sometimes his best ideas came after trying things that didn't work. This teaches us that failure is a stepping stone to creativity. Many people are afraid of failing, so they avoid trying new things or taking risks. But the truth is, failure is how we learn what works and what doesn't. Every time something doesn't go as planned, it gives you valuable information that can help you adjust and improve. Don't be discouraged by setbacks. Instead, see them as opportunities to grow. Keep experimenting, keep failing, and keep learning from those failures. The more risks you take, the closer you'll get to that breakthrough idea. 6. Consistency and persistence matter. Finally, Mia's journey shows us the importance of persistence. There were days when she didn't feel like her writing was good enough, and she deleted entire chapters. But she kept showing up, even on the hard days, and eventually, she finished her novel. The lesson here is that creativity is a process, not a single moment of genius. It takes time, effort, and persistence. Some days, you might feel like you're making no progress, but the key is to keep going. Every time you work on a creative project, you're getting closer to the final result, even if it doesn't feel like it. Creativity requires patience. Don't expect your first idea to be perfect, and don't give up when things get tough. The more you work at it, the more your ideas will develop and improve over time. By applying these lessons to your life, you can become a more creative thinker, just like Alex and Mia. Creativity isn't about being perfect. It's about being open, curious, and willing to keep trying until something clicks. If this video helps you learn something, don't forget to like and subscribe to the latest videos. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video.